On a quiet Sunday evening, the sort of evening where the stillness presses in and leaves no room for self-deception, the fragile structure of my life came undone. I had spent years building what I thought was a lasting bond with a man I once called my soulmate, and yet with one careless confession, spoken in the wrong moment, everything unraveled. It wasn't meant for his ears. I didn't even realize he was close enough to hear. But those words, spoken almost absent-mindedly, carried the weight of finality. They were the blow that shattered what remained of our marriage. That night, my closest friend Sarah had come by. We opened a bottle of wine and settled into the comfort of my living room, wrapped in the soft embrace of the evening. Nathan, my husband, was supposedly upstairs occupied with something in the storage room, or at least that's what I believed. The wine loosened the grip I usually kept on my emotions, and before I knew it, I was spilling out all the exhaustion, frustration, and disillusionment I had bottled up over the past months. The fights, the cold silences, the creeping distance. It all weighed on me like a storm I could no longer weather. My voice trembled when I said it. Asterisk, some days I wish I hadn't married him. Asterisk, the moment the word slipped out, I felt a sharp pang in my stomach, as though I had summoned something irreversible. Sarah immediately caught the gravity of it, her eyes flashing as she insisted I didn't mean it. But the truth wasn't so simple. I did mean it, at least in part, in the way people sometimes confess fleeting regrets born from suffocation rather than clarity. I felt trapped by the transformation of love into routine and routine into regret. And yet, another part of me still clung to him, still loved him in a way I couldn't fully articulate. What I didn't know was that Nathan had been standing on the staircase, motionless, listening to every word. The next morning, the air in the house felt strange, almost foreign. The coffee maker sat unused. His boots were gone from their usual place by the door, and his keys were missing. At first, I thought he had simply left early, but the absence of his usual goodbye kiss gnawed at me. That small ritual, something he never skipped even after our worst arguments, was missing, and its absence felt louder than any confrontation. By noon, when he still hadn't answered my calls or texts, dread began to creep in. I opened my laptop, hoping to reach him at work, only to find an email waiting for me. The subject line was a single word: farewell. My hand shook as I clicked it open. He wrote that he'd overheard me the night before, that he hadn't meant to but couldn't unhear the truth in my words. He told me he had given everything to us, and realizing I carried regret was something he could not live with. He had already filed for divorce. He said he wasn't angry, only unwilling to be someone's regret. And then he signed it, simply Nathan. I must have read that message 100 times. Every word landed like a hammer blow. There was no anger, no bargaining, no attempt to fight for us, just quiet finality. I rushed to his office, desperate to see him, only to find his desk empty. He had resigned that very morning. His phone was disconnected by afternoon, his social media erased, his presence dissolved. Even mutual friends and his own brother had no answers, only vague mentions of him needing space and cutting ties. It was as if he had deliberately vanished from the world we shared. Days later, the divorce papers arrived. His signature was already there, the process already in motion. My role in the end of our marriage was reduced to little more than paperwork. I expected rage to rise in me or denial to numb the pain, but instead all I felt was suffocating guilt. I remembered the man I had once seen as my universe. The tenderness in his gaze, the patience he offered me, the strength he carried quietly for us both. I saw him trying, even in the days before the collapse, despite the weariness in his eyes. He hadn't given up. I had. Sleep deserted me. I replayed that night with Sarah endlessly, dissecting my words, questioning whether I had spoken a truth I never wanted to face, or if I had let fear and fatigue speak for me. I even hired a private investigator, but Nathan had erased his trail completely. No address, no bank activity, no sign of where he had gone. It was as if he had chosen to vanish not just from me, but from the person he had been. With time, painful clarity seeped in. His departure wasn't simply about one careless remark. It was about what those words revealed. He heard the truth I had been too cowardly to confront with him directly. My love had faded, worn away quietly until regret filled the cracks. And in hearing that confession, he chose dignity over desperation. He left before I could reduce him further. Now, I live with the echo of that night, haunted by words I can never take back. I wonder constantly where he is, whether he has found someone who sees him not as an obligation, but as the best choice they ever made. Because that's what he was for me, though I realized it far too late. He walked away to reclaim his peace. And in doing so, he left me with the silence of his absence and the unbearable weight of my own truth.